a brand new public service announcement co-produced and co-directed by San Diego-based 9-time Emmy Award-winning director and cinematographer Samson Chan and his wife, classical cellist and activist Jianwang Chan.
We're all Americans.
Stop Asian hate. She's my friend.
Stop Asian hate. He's my classmate.
Stop Asian hate. She's my grandma.
They're our brothers.
She's my neighbor.
Stop Asian hate. He is my teacher.
She's my coach.
She's my teammate.
Stop Asian hate. She's our vice president.
He's my hero, and he's my dad.
We are
Asian American.
We are Asian Americans, and we are proud of our heritage.
Let's speak up and fight against prejudice.
Let's stand up and put an end to discrimination.
This is our home.
This is our city.
This is our country.
We are all Americans. Let's unite to stop hate.
That was absolutely wonderful. I have to tell you, that gave me chills, and I have seen it before, and it encapsulates my feelings about what it means to be an American and who we are today, as well as where we came from. I would like Jianwang Chang perhaps to make a few comments at this point.
I'm going to actually invite my husband, Samson, to speak
Wonderful.
First.
Well,
welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to share this with everyone. We had attended the candlelight vigil in March, and my 9-year-old daughter said, "I didn't know people hated us." And then my 14-year-old daughter was compelled to take the microphone and speak up to encourage people to speak up against discrimination. And so we as a family were inspired to produce this PSA to convey the message that, with our strong bonds and relationships, we can do a lot to, get a very positive message out to the world.
And so the first part of this PSA is through, the voices of, first of all, this is all, through the voices of children, but which we think is vitally important that, the next generation really speak up and, fight for, in a way, their rights and their future. So this first part was through the voices of children of our, of different ethnic groups and backgrounds and, so to speak, our allies through their voice to advocate for us, right? I sometimes feel like when your friends advocate for you, it comes through more powerfully and it's, heard more clearly even by, friends of their possible ethnic backgrounds. And the middle part, we introduced, the biracial, multiracial Asian Americans and to broaden the view of, what we really view as Asian Americans. It's not just people that look like me and, and them. A lot of times, it's through the kids that may look completely, what we call traditionally Asian. And, actually a friend of Sydney's, she is half Japanese and half Caucasian, and she speaks fluent Japanese at home. So, these kind of things I feel like people don't know. And then the last part was through the voices of, I guess, the traditional looking Asians to advocate for unity and for, to stop hate and to, for all of us to bond together. And, that is basically, the basic ideas for, for this PSA. And, we hope to be able to do more things for, our community. And, it really is time for us to all speak up and, help each other and, not us against them or, it's just all Americans.
Thank you so much. That was an absolutely wonderful creation, and we owe a lot to you and certainly to the message what we are all spreading, but thank you so much. Dr. Lily Chen has a final comment that we would like to turn it over to her at this point.
Yes.
I am so proud of all of you, Wang Jian especially, for bringing up two such wonderful, wonderful girls. And of course, Samson, I'm proud of you for your multiple award-winning productions. But this one, I think, gets an award from me. We have your permission to show it again and again and again, right?
Please do. We would love for this to be the, the voice for a lot of agents.
So wonderful. So lovely. I look forward to seeing you in person very soon. And I want to thank you for doing this from deep from your heart, that we are all together. We are better because of you. You are better because of us. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who has joined us. And I just saw the number 99, and I'm just so thrilled because 99 is a good number. We will probably get to 100. So now, may I have the next slide, please? It gives me great pleasure to now introduce to you someone that I work with, that I admire. His name is Ron Cho. He represents the president of APAPA San Diego chapter. APAPA means Asian Pacific American for Public Affairs. Ron Cho, please take it over from me. Thank you so much, and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chang. Good morning, everyone. Hope you have had a great start to the day. My name is Ron, as Lily mentioned, and I am also a proud and honored board member, advisory board member of API, advisory board member of Mayor Gloria's advisory board, and I'm thrilled to participate in that, and I'm glad that him, Councilman Member Chris Kate, District Attorney Summer Steffen, and Chief of Police David Nislight are on this call. Today's Unity Against Hate is an opportunity for all Americans to come together, regardless of political affiliation, race, ethnicity, and gender. We are a group of 120 sites, including Australia, Canada, that are participating in today's Unity Rally. And our sponsoring members include the California Asian Pacific Islander Legislative Caucus, the NAACP, the League of Women Voters, Equality California, Asian Business Association of San Diego, Alliance of Chinese Americans San Diego, and Organization of Chinese Americans, and countless of other organizations that have joined to, again, to participate in this event and create an open dialogue with our official leaders and work together to collaborate and find a solution and have continued dialogues to move towards the path of healing and recovery, as we have had some tremendous challenging times, not only with the pandemic, but with the pandemic comes hate crimes, and it's across the board. So thank you again for joining us. I would like to start, before I send it off to our moderator, Melissa Masiha, would like to cue off a video for everyone to enjoy.
The students and parents of Barnard Mandarin Magnet Elementary School, Pacific Beach Middle School, and Mission Bay High School joined together today to condemn the wave of anti-Asian hate that has spread throughout our country and city in recent times.
Our three schools offer the only K-12 Asian language immersion program in our district. Though we come from diverse ethnic and socioeconomic groups in the greater San Diego area, we stand firmly against the bias, bigotry, and violence against Asian Americans, as well as the discrimination and injustice of all racial and ethnic groups.
The AAPI communities in our country are no strangers to racially motivated scrutiny. Since the time of the Chinese Exclusion Act in 1882, the 1930 bombing of the Filipino Federation of America in Stockton, California, through the Japanese-American internment during Second World War, and the 1982 killing of Vincent Chin, and most recently the brutal murders of 8 innocent individuals in the Atlanta area just over a month ago.
While the overall number of reported hate crimes dropped in 2020, the number of reported hate crimes targeting the AAPI community rose almost 150%, with the majority of the victims being women.
We cannot stay silent anymore. Every victim from the 6,600 plus cases of anti-Asian hate reported from March 2020 to March 2021 is a beloved family member somewhere. These are not just statistics, these are people's lives.
As families within SDUSD, we applaud the state of California and the district for its commitment to include the Asian American experience in the newly approved ethnic studies curriculum that will help erase bias and racism through education. We are also in support of the Board of Education's recent resolution condemning anti-Asian hate in all of its forms.
We thank you for inviting us to this rally today and for giving us an opportunity to stand with you and with all Americans against hate.
Thank you to Love Zubler for producing the video for us, and thank you to the folks and the students, the parents for that wonderful video. Now I'd like to introduce our moderator for this event, ABC 10 News, Melissa Messiha. She currently works for the Team 10's investigative unit and an anchor for the station as well. Melissa?
Ron, thank you so much for that introduction. I hope everyone can hear me okay. Again, I'm Melissa Messiha. It's so great to see everyone joining virtually. You know, like we've heard the speakers say, today is about coming together to take action against acts of hate on AAPIs and other communities. We want to take a stand against verbal and physical violence perpetrated on AAPIs. The first step, of course, is talking about it, recognizing it. And then the goal is to go beyond what we're doing here today, go beyond talk. Ultimately, the goal is action, and to foster an open dialogue, seek common ground on social justice, economic well-being, and equality. Of course, we want to welcome our distinguished panelists who I know have a very busy schedule, but took the time out here today. Each of them will give an opening remark, and then we'll get right to some questions. Our panelists, Mayor Todd Gloria, Councilmember Chris Cate, District Attorney Summer Stephan, and Police Chief David Nislight. So again, we just want to remind everyone to make sure that you're on mute. You can turn your cameras off if you want. I always like to speak to you so we can see who's actually talking. First to speak is our Mayor of San Diego, Todd Gloria. A little background on Mayor Gloria, for those who don't know. He's the first person of color and LGBTQ person to become mayor. Prior to being elected mayor, he was the second person of Filipino heritage to be elected to the California State Assembly. And then prior to that, he was a council member for the 3rd District, which included 2 terms as council president and interim mayor. So Mayor, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure, Melissa, and I appreciate the invitation. Thank you, Ron, and everyone who's brought this event together this morning. And thank you to every San Diegan who is participating today. You know, I've had occasion over the last number of weeks and months to state over and over again that there's no place for hate in the city of San Diego. And while it's important for the mayor to say that, it's even more important for San Diegans to show up in the numbers that we have this morning to really make those words real. And I'm really pleased to be joined by my colleague, Councilmember Chris Cate, and my partners in making sure our city stays safe, our Police Chief, Dave Nislight, as well as our District Attorney, Summer Stephan. I will be brief because I think we want to get to the questions. That's typically where these things are most valuable. But I want to just share with you all my perspective, and Ron got to it, of being super inclusive about this effort. We recognize that while we have a very large and diverse API community in our city and in the San Diego region, the fact is that we do not make up a majority of the community. And to the extent that we have partners like Equality California and others who are participating today to really enlarge the group of people who are saying that we must stop API violence and hate, I think that's really important. And I want you to know that from my administration, we're doing everything we can to broaden our conversation and our efforts at City Hall to be as inclusive as possible. You've seen this in my administration with the appointment of multiple API community members to senior positions in my administration, as well as the creation of our API advisory board to the mayor's office, which Ron and many of you are a part of, making sure that there is a direct line between the API community to City Hall and making sure that we're forming policies and budgets that are reflective of the community's needs and desires. I'll tell you that Chris Kate and I, Chris as the chair of the budget committee, are working together to make sure that our proposed city budget does address the needs of our community. I will tell you that I was at a Vietnamese-owned business in the Convoy district just a few days ago, announcing the creation of a $12 million relief fund for local small businesses and nonprofits. I believe many of our API businesses and nonprofit organizations will be the direct beneficiaries of this program if it's adopted by the city council. And this is just one of the ways that we're trying to make sure that we don't just respond to the violence in the community, but that we invest in our community and really assert what I want to conclude with, which is that it is not thinkable, it's not conceivable to have a San Diego without our API community. So many of our neighborhoods are informed and have been created by members of our API community. And when I think about my grandfather, who is the Filipino side of the family, who endured significant racism throughout his lifetime in this city, I offer up our own stories, our own family's story, as proof of not just how long we've been here, how integral we have been to the creation of this city, but how far we have come. I hope that all of you take tremendous pride in the election of Chris Kate and I to office here at City Hall. It is proof that this city has come a long way, but recent acts of violence prove how much more we have to do. And I think our united front this morning and this panel conversation really proves that this city is taking this violence and hate extremely seriously, and that we will make the necessary investments to make sure that the API community is not just heard, but at the table when it comes to decision making in our city. With that, Melissa, I appreciate the chance to give a few thoughts, and I look forward to the dialogue with my panelists, with fellow panelists.
All right, Mayor, thanks so much, and we'll go back to you here in a bit. Next, we want to bring in Council Member Chris Kate, who was elected to the City Council back in 2014. He was re-elected in 2018. So he represents District 6, which includes neighborhoods of Claremont Mesa, Kearny Mesa, Miramar, Park Village, and Sorrento Valley. So let's turn it over to Chris. I know you're awaiting a very special delivery, so thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Melissa, and appreciate inviting me, and thank you to Dr. Lee Chang and Ron Cho and Apapa, everyone involved in Apapa, for inviting me to be part of this. And the mayor, Chief Nislight, our district attorney, Summer Stephan, and myself have spent a lot of time together over the last couple of months, really trying to showcase the API community and let the API community know that we have their back, we're here for them. Anything we can do to help assist them through some of these instances in which are not befitting of our city. I won't add too much to what the mayor said because he eloquently talked about all the things that we are doing as a city, but I do want to emphasize 2 points. One is the investment in our small businesses. Last year, when we had the initial outset of our small business relief fund, which was about $18 million, I worked really diligently with my colleagues to ensure that the folks within our Asian-owned businesses had the opportunity to have access to those funds. Typically, our Asian business owners either don't speak the language, don't have the technical ability to be a part of some of these programs that are very complex to get those fundings that are invested into them. But we made sure that we had folks like the Asian Business Association who were leading the charge to really do the outreach to our Asian business owners to be a part of the solution and get those dollars invested into them. And I'm proud to say that at least within my district, which a lot of Asian-owned businesses are a part of my district, whether in Mira Mesa or in Convoy, received over $2 million of that funding for these small businesses, which is a lifesaver in the midst of a pandemic. They're able to showcase the culture, diversity that we're very proud of to have a part of not only District 6, but the entirety of the city. And I want to touch on one thing that Ron and both the mayor said too, when it comes to action and having the Asian voices be involved in action. And one of those is through the government process. We have a very important process coming forward in the next few months, and then that's the redistricting process. Redistricting is going to be a huge opportunity for the API community to voice their opinions, to flex their muscle as a group of individuals who are proud of being a part of the political process. I would not be here today if it weren't for what the API community did back in 2011 when it came to the redistricting process. We have the opportunity to build upon what started in 2011 with my district and really flex the muscle of the Asian community. And so really encourage everyone to be involved in that process and to show that we want to have even more of a stronger voice when it comes to our ability to elect someone who represents us as an Asian community on the city council. So hopefully more to come on that. And really lastly, I just want to thank Chief Nislight and our District Attorney Summer Steffen. They have taken a proactive approach along with the mayor to show that we have an open line of communication between the API community and our public safety officials. That is huge. And we got the opportunity, the mayor, the chief and I and others with our multicultural storefront to walk some of our Asian-owned businesses to communicate to them. And the positive feedback that we got from those business owners was amazing. It's something we want to do more of. So with that, thank you for being part of this. Thank you, Melissa. And I'm going to try to wrangle my daughter here while my wife's on resting. So thank you.
I don't blame you, Chris. That's why I stayed at work to do this, or else my kids would be surrounding me. But it's great to see the younger generation already interested in equality and equal opportunities. So we'll talk to you in just a bit. I want to bring in now District Attorney Summer Steffen. She was appointed in 2017, elected in 2018, and she is focused on advancing public safety through fair and equal justice, bringing solutions to complex issues with data-driven, common sense approach. She leads the second largest district attorney's office in California, managing a professional staff of 1,000 employees and serving more than 3 million residents. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's really an honor to be here this morning with everybody, and Ron Cho and Dr. Lily Chang. What an enormous undertaking, and what a beautiful morning that really highlights the spirit that is San Diego. Want to thank our mayor, who has been there every step of the way, facing and confronting the rise in the hate against our API community. Council member Chris Cate, that we've worked with for years on making sure that the API community is heard and is part of the leadership, more than at the table, but at the head of the table. And Chief Nislight, my partner in anti-crime and anti-hate on the ground. So from the DA's perspective, we get a view of the entire county of San Diego and what is going on. And we see that our office has one of the first dedicated hate crimes divisions. And this is something that we started a while ago, recognizing that hate is something that where the crime of hate, a hate crime, doesn't just affect the victim concerned, but has a ripple effect throughout the community. Everyone who shares in the characteristics of the victim of the hate crime feels almost the same fear, the same trepidation, the same pain. And really what we've seen in San Diego is beyond that. It's not just the folks that share the ethnicity and the race of the API community, but it is everyone that has a beating heart, that loves each other, loves our community, has felt this pain. And with that, we track statistics very, very carefully. And we know that across the state of California, hate that is targeting our API community has been around 8% of the race-based hate in our state, and around the same number around our nation. While the numbers are not out yet, the Attorney General issues those numbers for 2020 around June or July. We don't have them, but we know from talking to other partners across the state and here in San Diego that we have certainly at least seen a triple effect at a minimum. We know that in 2017, 2018, and 2019, we saw no crimes, felony crimes targeting the API community that are motivated by hate, by that bias. But we saw in 2020, as soon as the COVID pandemic began and the false narratives that are so painful, so hateful, targeting our API communities began, that we are currently handling 3 felony cases that target our API community with the hate bias. So that's a triple effect. And we see that across the nation. We're going to talk more about this because I know Melissa knows how to ask precise and great questions. But what I want to tell you is that San Diego has formed the standard for the nation on how we combat this hate, how we stand united. And we are seeing a downward trend already in San Diego. We haven't received a new case in a long time. And this isn't the same in other regions across the state and across the country. And we have to think that our efforts coming together as leadership, as community members, and having our voice heard has been making a difference. Our office has created a direct way to contact and to report these hate crimes. We want them reported to 911, to police, and Chief Nislight is always there along with all of the other law enforcement. But sometimes people don't know if it's a hate crime. We still want it reported. We want hate words, hate actions that aren't a crime to still be reported. So we formed this platform that has now received national attention as the standard of how you fight hate crimes by allowing avenues that allow the community to communicate directly with leaders and to have us take action. And that has already received over 125 reports. Some turned out to be hate crimes, some hate incidents, but we still wanted to hear about them, take action, contact the victim, and empower the community. I look forward to this conversation with you this morning.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And in the chat, I know that there was a link posted from the district attorney's office about a little bit more about hate crimes if you wanted to click on that. Next, we have our final panelist, the Police Chief David Nislight. He was promoted to the 35th Chief of Police on March 2nd, 2018, overseeing the 8th largest department in the country. He's from San Diego, grew up in the Rolando community, and rose through the ranks with assignments focused on gangs, sex crimes, robbery, and narcotics. His first command post was leading the Mid-City Division, which includes City Heights. So, Chief.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I want to say thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm very honored to be here. And I want to specifically say thank you to Ron Cho for the invitation. But I also want to talk about the great partners that we have in San Diego. And that really starts with our Mayor, Todd, Gloria, and Councilmember Chris Kate, and then my partner in crime, if you would, the District Attorney, Summer Steffen. You know, as we've been talking about, we've been getting out with community walks and everything that we're doing. It's very important right now to make certain that we say that hate has no place, not only in San Diego, but everywhere. And so it's critical to make certain that people understand that we need to have all types of hate incidents, whether it's a hate incident or a hate crime, reported to us immediately so that we can put together our teams to make certain that we get out there, get a report done, and really bring these people to justice. We have a lot of great programs. You know, we also have the multicultural storefront. It's a phenomenal program to participate in it and actually help eradicate hate. But it's also then our work with the Department of Justice and the DA, working all together to report this. I agree with Summer, and we have not seen the cases. In fact, you know, right now we have not had a hate crime based on a Asian Pacific Islander in a couple months, and that's good, but that doesn't mean the incidents are happening. So one of the things I want to make certain is people feel comfortable reporting this crime But I also want to talk a little bit about our Safe Place program that will be moving over to the AAPI community here shortly. I really hope that is another avenue for people to come in and be able to report hate to the San Diego Police Department, so then that we can work closely with our partners to make certain that not only do we reduce hate crime, but also improve the fear of crime for all of our communities, but specifically right now, as we're talking with the Asian Pacific Islander community. And I also look very forward to this conversation. So thank you.
Chief, thank you so much. Now let's open up our dialogue. First couple of questions here to our mayor. You know, Mayor, in just talking to people within the community, Asians have said they are known as the invisible minority, and I hear that over and over again. How do we ensure that the issues within the community are heard in City Hall?
Thanks for the question, Melissa. You know, I addressed some of these in my opening comments where, you know, it's about having diverse representation. It's great that we have a Filipino mayor, but we got to have more than that, right? So it's not sufficient to be sitting in this chair that I'm sitting in right now. The folks outside the door who are major decision makers also have to reflect our community, again, of which in my policy department, community engagement, political appointments, we have folks from our community in every one of those seats. The API advisory board to the mayor's office, which, you know, we are interested in expanding. So if there are folks who are here who maybe have not yet been appointed, we want to make sure that it represents the breadth and diversity of the API community, which, Melissa, as you know, is quite vast. We would welcome more participation to make sure that we're hearing and we have, you know, sort of eyes and ears out in every corner of the city. You know, I think beyond that, we are trying to ingrain equity into the decision making here at City Hall, and there is a desire to do that, but it's also groundbreaking in many ways. You know, so when we've discussed how do you do equity in infrastructure, that's a very fresh conversation. And so it is important to have these inputs that as we develop ways to make sure that the $4 billion that we'll spend this year to run the city is penetrating all the neighborhoods and not being dictated just business as usual, but that we're addressing those parts of City Heights that have unpaved roads in 2021. I mean, that's insane, right? And the fact that that is a historic center of particularly our Vietnamese community and East Asian communities, I think is no mistake. So I think the community's input in making sure that as we change the culture here, make it more focused on equity, we need those inputs. The advisory board is one way, Councilmember Kate's office is a way. Some of our city boards and commissions, particularly our Human Relations Commission, is a formalized way to have input. And opportunities like this, frankly, are that too. So there's many avenues, but I hope everyone here would feel comfortable in contacting my office directly. We always want to hear from you.
And the second question, we'll go back to you, kind of overlaps a little bit. You know, when we have conversations like this is not about one community of color versus another. What is the city doing to collaborate with all groups? And you talked a little bit about it earlier about funding. If you can expand on funding for education, training, outreach.
Yeah. Melissa, it's a great question. It connects back to that invisible minority or model minority. Some of the myths that are out there, in part because, you know, in our divided community where we sometimes don't interact with each other as often as we could or should, we need to find more ways to make sure that folks can interact, that they are, and that we're again making those investments. So whether it's the $12 million, which shout out to the San Diego Foundation, who's taking $10 million that Chris, Kate, and I want to give, matching it with $2 million from philanthropic funds, and again, trying to concentrate those in communities of color, that goes a long way. But you know, one of the best places that San Diegans interact with one another is in our public spaces, our libraries, our parks, our rec centers. And so this budget envisions substantial investments in those places. And so that's everything from $450,000 to outfit more of our rec centers and libraries with Wi-Fi, free public Wi-Fi. You know, that's access to jobs, it's access to education, and that's being done at public facilities where, again, API members of this community can interact with other members of the community, really break down those barriers and help to dispel some of those myths that you mentioned a moment ago, Melissa. I'd also point out, and I really want to make sure that folks are aware, we are proposing a dramatic increase in summer jobs for our youth, again, focused on communities of concern and communities of color. So the city typically would spend about $250,000. We're proposing over $1 million in spending. That's a lot of jobs for our young people. Again, getting them together, kids from all across the city, interacting with one another. It's a way to break down barriers. The last thing I would say is our rec centers. I've proposed what I call a summer for all of us, with the help of the County of San Diego and Price Charities, who have long time made a commitment to City Heights. Again, one of the cultural homes of our API community. You're going to see robust summer offerings at our rec centers. Again, just a way to get San Diegans out of the house, interacting with one another in a safe environment, and hopefully breaking down some of those barriers, creating the kinds of lifelong relationships that will allow the sorts of stereotypes that have allowed people to feel like they can act with hate and with violence against our community, maybe make them think less, think of us a little bit differently, always remembering that we got Chief Nislight there to help back to hold people accountable. But we need to break down barriers between communities. That's why I appreciate this event today, really drawing folks across the community. As I look at the gallery of faces, there's a lot of beautiful API faces, but there are also members of other parts of the community. I really appreciate all of our allies who've taken time to be here this morning.
Mayor, thank you, and it's great to hear the funding that you have for some of the youth programs, because I believe, you know, a lot of the learning, of course, starts when you're very, very young. So that's good to see, and thank you for joining us this morning. Let's hop over to Councilmember Chris Cate. Speaking of someone with young kids, you know, your district represents a very large AAPI community, of course. Within District 6, you touched on it a little bit earlier. What are you doing to help the community specifically with solution-based programs and services?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're trying to do is really hear from our community. It's one of the highlights that we've had in our time in office is trying to encourage our residents and business owners to reach out to us, let us know what your priorities are. That way we can be the advocate for them. Knowing what programs you want, whether it's libraries, what streets you want funded, libraries, park and recreation centers, where do you want various improvements? Those are things that we want to hear back from our community members to figure out what the solutions are to those issues. Especially with our business community. I try to reemphasize this a lot because we spent a lot of time with our Asian businesses over the last 14 months through the term of the pandemic, is hearing from them about what we can do to be proactive to help them keep their doors open, keep those employees employed, and keep those paychecks coming. And so one of the things, and you know, not to put a lot of pressure on the mayor, because I know he's working toward the solution, but things like outdoor dining. You know, how can we keep outdoor dining permanent? If you drive down Convoy and you see the popularity of that program and what has happened over the last 10 months since we instituted that, I mean, it's been a huge boost for our business owners, you know, and it's doing more of that to listen to them. Also, too, one thing we did before the mayor came into office is to designate the Convoy district as a Pan-Asian cultural district. I mean, the mayor was proactive in doing that when he was in Sacramento, even before he was here, knowing that that provides a boost for tourism for the Convoy businesses in the community and really puts them on the map. And doing more of that is what we're trying to figure out. That way we can drive more folks to really understand the richness that we have within our culture, within our Asian community.
Chris, thank you so much. I do want to ask District Attorney Summer Stephan, you know, you mentioned this a little bit earlier, if you can, again, you know, hate crime versus hate incident, because even us as a news station, we get a lot of emails saying this is a hate crime, you know, and it may or may not be. So let's talk a little bit about that. And then how is the DA's office investigating violence directed toward the AAPI community? And what would you say to those who are worried that their concerns just aren't taken seriously? So I threw 3 questions at you at one time.
Okay. No, this is an excellent question, the difference between hate crime and hate incident, because there is a lot of, you get different statistics, and sometimes people think that the numbers are wrong, but in fact, it's whether you're measuring all hate incidents or you're measuring an actual hate crime. So here is the law school breakdown really quickly. Hate crimes are any crime. So you have to commit a crime, whether that's vandalism, assault, attempt murder, robbery, some crime has been committed, but you add to it that the bias is against a race, a protected group, that the part of the intention of the crime, not necessarily all of it, but part of it, a substantial part, is motivated by bias against an ethnicity, race, sexual orientation, religion, disability, or gender. Those are the protected categories under the law. Why? Because they have historically, as has been referred to, been the ones that have subjected people to no fault of their own to being attacked and abused. So when you add that, it makes it a more serious crime. It elevates misdemeanor conduct to felony conduct. So it sends a strong message that this is not going to work here in San Diego or anywhere, hopefully. It won't work with our office. We take every opportunity to research and make sure what we have. A hate incident is often a precursor to a hate crime. It's hate speech. It is words that hurt, or different blocking somebody, their path, or doing conduct that's not a crime, mostly speech usually, doesn't amount to a crime, but it's still something we want to hear about. Why? Because we know that the hate incidents are often precursors to hate crimes. Not only that, the reason we take it seriously is it helps us build a case. We had a case recently where it was not clear what the hate intent was, but by whether we had that hate intent, but looking back at the person's history and seeing their social media and how their speech is, we were able to develop the needed requirement to show the hate intent. We were able to charge a hate crime. This is why we want to hear about it. We also want to hear about it because we've at least had one incident, and Chief Nislight knows this, in San Diego, where we stopped violence. We stopped a hate crime by getting a report of a hateful speech, a hate incident. So it's very important. What I tell everybody is, our lead prosecutor, who's also the chair of the Anti-Hate Coalition, Leonard Trin, is a member of the API community. And our office is committed, our leadership, our office is committed to fighting, and we will take everything you give us seriously.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that explanation. I know our mayor did have to hop off, but just want everyone to look in the chat to make sure you see the contact information for those who are joining us, have questions. The contact information is there. Let's go to the chief now. Bouncing off what the district attorney said, there are some concerns from some people about going to the police for help, whether it be either personal experience or cultural upbringing. What would you say to those who are worried about trusting law enforcement with their experiences of hate?
Yeah, no, that's a very important question, an important note. And that's why we've been doing a campaign, why we've been getting out and walking our communities and talking to people about not only the actual hate crime incidents or actual hate crimes, but also just the fear. There is definitely, you can feel the pulse of concern in the community as we walk the community about hate crimes and about being the victim of a hate crime. And so, that's why we talk about the Safe Place program. But we've had a multicultural storefront, for well over 20 years now in the city of San Diego. In fact, I used to be the commanding officer of that storefront when I was also the commanding officer of Mid-City Division. Very, very important for us to work very closely. So all I ask is that you call. You can either walk into the multicultural storefront, you can contact any one of the officers. You can obviously call the non-emergency line of San Diego Police Department, or if it's actual crime occurring there, and I want you to call 911 and you'll get an officer to you very, very quickly. And my promise is very simple, is we will work this as diligent and thorough as we can be. I want you to understand how serious I take hate crimes as the chief of police for the San Diego Police Department. So we have, once the hate crime comes into us, it gets assigned an investigator. But we also go one step further. I also assign a liaison out of my criminal intelligence unit who liaisons with that detective to make certain that we are using all resources available, not only within the city, but also through our district attorney, through our Federal Bureau of Investigation partners and all of our federal partners, to make certain that we are doing everything we can to, one, stop the crime, but also bring that person to justice. And so, to the point, we'll look at what the district attorney was mentioning. We'll look at everything to include looking at social media, looking at prior contacts, talking to friends of that suspected person, to really kind of get a big picture look of what is going on. I would much rather get out in front of hate crimes and prevent them than actually respond to them after they occur. But once they do, rest assured, we're going to do everything we can to solve those types of cases.
And then, Chief, can you give the location of this multicultural storefront for people who don't know where it is?
Yes, on University Avenue, just west of 54th Street on the north side of the street.
Okay, so there you have it for everyone listening. Make sure you write that down. Let's go back to Councilmember Chris Kate. We did have a question come in, and let me see if I can find it here. As a general sense, since your district has a large number of AAPIs, is a general sense in the AAPI community that they feel safe going out, especially now that we are opening up? And then how do you encourage the community to get back out there to stimulate the economy? I know for my parents, they're still a little iffy, just with everything going on. So what would your response to that be, Chris?
No, I think folks are starting to come out a little bit more, especially with the vaccinations, and that's something that we've really tried to work through since the start of the pandemic. Really try to be good listeners to our Asian community in Mira Mesa, specifically our Filipino community, and trying to hear from them about what their needs are. When we first started out through the pandemic, we didn't have a place to get testing for our Filipino community in Mira Mesa. And so we worked with then Supervisor Kristen Gaspar in the county to make sure that we had a testing facility at the Mira Mesa Senior Center. And now we're seeing the vaccinations come through. Actually, after this, I have to go get my second shot by our Filipino Nurses Association, who are taking part in providing vaccinations at the Mira Mesa Senior Center. And so I think as you start seeing more of that, people are getting more comfortable with coming out and taking part of activities. And you're seeing Mira Mesa and Convoy a little busier now, a little more traffic, people going places, which is a good sign. In terms of just feeling safe in general, I think our business owners and folks knowing that our police department is out there and taking a proactive approach is helping that as well too. And I did a walk in Mira Mesa with Lieutenant Al Ambito, who we all know, and Sergeant Len Sansanoy, who oversees the multicultural storefront. And talking to business owners in their native languages, I think helps with what the chief was talking about, that line of communication between folks and our police department.
Chris, thanks so much. We'll go back to the district attorney. You covered a lot of ground in the first question, and I might have missed in the beginning. The availability of people that speak different languages, is that something that's available to folks who do have a concern or want to report a crime? And then anything I missed, just regarding the future within the DA's office, any more available funding that might be available for investigating hate crimes?
Great, Melissa. So if you go to sandiegoda.org, just put in sandiegoda.org, you will get our website that has a whole section on hate crimes. What are hate crimes? What does it look like? What's a hate incident? Where to report? And of course, the calling 911 to feel comfortable with that. But to also, if you're not sure, you just want to report by phone, by email, whatever makes people comfortable. And there's a translation box, so you can just put in any language that you're comfortable with, and you can use that translation box. I do think we're all becoming more aware of the importance of language, and there is, I think, a way. I've been talking to Sally Wong Avery about a way to make that even clearer on our website. so that people can kind of see their language without having to go to the translation box, but it's definitely available. You will get a call back from a victim service advocate, and we have multi-languages in our office, but we also, if we have a language or a dialect that we don't have, we use a translation service. So it is available. It is something that we're all in law enforcement aware of, how important it is to make that as accessible and as easy to relate. But you know, the head of our diversity inclusion and our HR, I think everybody knows her in the API community, Jerry Milana, she's constantly advising us on how to make things more accessible. But Melissa, I think, and folks here today, our neighbors, our friends, this is very sad and also hopeful that we're talking about this, because, you know, over 60 years ago, my parents-in-law, who are a biracial Japanese American couple, couldn't find housing because, you know, my mother-in-law's Asian descent. And I think we tend to think of things as being so far away, but unfortunately, we see history repeat itself. So what we need to do is to constantly be vigilant, meaning have this kind of program, even when we're not seeing a rise in hate against anybody, to make sure that we're constantly on guard against this element in society that to me is sick and diseased, that is focused on prejudice and bias. But one thing that is also important amidst the, and I don't want to turn the conversation, you know, the questions about trust with law enforcement and trust with prosecutors, there is a lot of trust in our community. We have to continue to build it. The fact that we get these reports, that people trust us with their lives, they know that we're going to guide them. But what's important is that if you don't get the response you want, to go up the chain, because there's absolutely no way that my office would tolerate anything but absolute respect and dignity. And I know Chief Nislight will speak for himself. Because remember, if you don't report, this person is not going to stop. This is my 100% experience over 3 decades of doing this. Bullies will not stop until you stop them. So even if you want to put up with it, they're going to do it to somebody else that can't take it. And the next time it might be more violent and that person could get hurt. So if you don't do it for yourself, report for someone else so that we can stop these bullies and haters.
Yeah, you know, as scary as it might be, no one will know an incident unless you share it or you tell the proper authorities about it. Thank you so much, Summer. Let's go to the police chief. You know, I want to talk more about outreach. Of course, like we've mentioned over and over again, we have a very large population of AAPIs. How do you ensure that we're recruiting qualified officers from this community and, you know, in all communities of color?
Yeah, thank you. It's that's hugely important to me. One of my key goals is really improving the diversity of this police department. The last about 2 years, we've been doing a fantastic job. And one of the areas that we've been doing very, very good in is our API, our hires. And so our next academy starts July 26th. So a little plug, we're always hiring. I hire about 200 officers a year. That's our goal. And we've been able to do that in with a very diverse community. So one of the ways that we do that is, 2 names that have already been mentioned on the screen today is Lieutenant L. Ambito and Sergeant Lem Sansanoy in the multicultural storefront, get out. But I have an API captain that's in charge of our backgrounds and recruiting, and that is Captain Rudy Tai, who really gets out in the community and really, stresses not only how good the San Diego Police Department is, but what a phenomenal career it is and all the opportunities available within the police department. And, so that's what we do. We get out, we do the community walks. We're very engaged with the community. To Summer's point, there is a lot of trust in the community with law enforcement. We can always do better, but again, it's just getting out. It's based on relationships. Our officers are our best recruiters. So we always, tell them to continue to do that as we bring on great men and women. And I really want them to be from this region. I think they're more vested in providing the public service that I want to see in this city. And so that's everything that we're doing. We get out to a lot of different schools. We go to a lot of different job fairs. Now, obviously, with the pandemic in 2020, that was a little difficult. But I will tell you that our applicants in the year 2020 actually went up, and they were more diverse. And so those are some very positive signs that I see, of great young men and women who want to get into law enforcement and provide that layer of protection, if you would, to keep their community safe.
Great, Chief. Thanks so much. Yeah, the trust that's there, we want to build on it. The trust that isn't there, but we want to work hard to try to create it. Thank you so much. Our speakers, we really appreciate your time. We're going to wrap it up with a few other people. But again, to Mayor Todd, Gloria, Councilmember Chris Kate, DA Summer Stephan, and Police Chief David Nislight. At the very least, the people who are listening, hey, you know who your leaders are and you know how to contact them now. So please make sure to do that. You see something, say something, and that's really the only way we can start to create some healing and get the issues out there in the open. Our final speakers here, first for Equality California, I believe we have Steve Padilla, who is a council member for Chula Vista. And I don't know if this is where I tap dance and maybe go on to the next person. We'll check to see if Steve. Oh, Steve.
Yes, let's go ahead and move on to the next.
Got it. Okay, let's bring in Jason Pacquiao, the president CEO of the Asian Business Association. Jason, are you there? It's hard to tell with this virtual forum. I'm gonna keep going.
Let's go ahead and move on. I'm gonna
keep going down the list. Yes. Sunny Rickards, Alliance of Chinese Americans, San Diego, the president. I thought I saw Sunny's name. Sunny there? Okay, I do know the last person's here.
I can see that Sunny is here.
Go ahead, Sunny. Sunny, go ahead.
I can keep going to the last one. Maybe Sunny has to figure out the microphone.
Yes.
Brocade Wu Harmon. I do see his name. Organization of Chinese Americans of San Diego, the president.
Yes, I'm here. And all the honored guests. And I cannot start the video myself. I think the host will have to. Okay.
There we go.
Well,
and we can see you now and hear you.
Okay. All the honored guests and dignitaries, I would like to first thank Dr. Lily Chen and Ron Cho for inviting us to participate in this event. On behalf of Organization of Chinese American San Diego, I would like to proclaim we will not stay silent anymore. We will speak up, we will participate, we will vote, we will volunteer and donate to stand up for API community. And we also would like to partner with government agency and like-minded organizations to stop Asian hate and to uphold our constitutional right of liberty, justice, and equality. God bless America.
Great, thank you so much for your closing remarks. I don't know if Steve, Jason, or Sunny are joining us, but I didn't know if Ron, if you wanted to say anything at the very end, or amazingly, we are on time. So
yes.
If you wanted to say any closing remarks, or does Jeff, or I got a suggestion here. Does Jeff want to say a few words?
Jeff, are you? Jeff, are you on? if you want to say anything. But Melissa, thank you for helping moderate this event. I want to thank Kwa Win and the board members of Papa San Diego chapter for their leadership in putting this event together, along with the Chinese Cultural Center of SDSU and the San Diego Chinese Historical Museum. I would like to thank the brave men and women of the San Diego Police Department for protecting our neighborhoods. Chief Nislight for your leadership. The District Attorney Office, District Attorney Summer Seffen for vigorously prosecuting perpetrators. And most importantly, Mayor Gloria and Councilmember Kate for your leadership in helping us, our community, all the leaders that are on this call, navigate through these challenging times. We hope this will be a launching point to make changes in every community across this country and institute the changes necessary to end hate and discrimination. Let us embrace inclusion, diversity, and equity. And we appreciate everyone joining us. Have a good rest of the weekend, and thank you again.
Thank you, Ron.
Oh,
Thank you
Sunny.
guys so much.
Yes, Sunny, go ahead, wrap it up. Go ahead, Sunny.
Oh, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Ron, for hosting, Papa hosting this wonderful event. I think that it's really important for us to speak out. And I think it's really appreciative that city officials and our DA and our police chief all kind of involved, all get into this message, this rally. I think this is very important to the San Diego API community and to San Diego community as a whole. I think this is very important. API definitely is an integral part of San Diego community, and we're here. And we're going to speak out. We're going to do anything that make a better, just community for our kids, for our future. So thank you again, Papa, for provide this wonderful event and give us this opportunity. United, say no to the hate crime. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I think that wraps it up, Ron. So thank you again to everyone who joined us this morning, or now almost afternoon. Appreciate your time. And like all our speakers said earlier, you know, get involved, whether it be for political office, no matter what side of the aisle you are on, get involved in your community organizations, because that is the way that our voices will be heard. So thank you so much. And unless anyone or Ron or Dr. Chang have anything to say, hopefully that was a good lunch.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we thank Melissa. We want to thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to be with us. I want to thank you for being such a great moderator and MC. I want to thank all the people for joining us. And Ron did remind me that I will need to blow the yellow whistle. So let's make sure that we understand yellowwhistle.org. Going there. Yellow is a beautiful color. It is a color of many of the people on this continent. In fact, most people on this continent have the skin color of yellow. Okay, so that's very important. Of course, we want to thank San Diego State University Chinese Cultural Center for providing the platform for us to come into this beautiful living room, beautiful community room to talk to each other. And I want to thank the Chinese Historical Museum for always giving us great stories about the history of the contributions of Asian Pacific Islander Americans for the contribution of weaving this country. The true fabric of this country is of diversity. So this is absolutely a great beginning. I am so thankful that you are here with us. And I want to thank APAPA, APAPA, for being there for us, celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. We know that it's going to continue for many years to come. And I want to thank the people from Barnard and the other schools for helping us celebrate diversity, bilingualism, multiculturalism, and a family, a couple together, Wang Jian and Samson, with the family working together and put out a public announcement video that makes all of us feel invigorated And of course, our two speakers for today, our keynote speaker, Dr. Robert Stein, a cardiologist, and our moderator, Dr. Russell Lowe, a physician, author, and of course, someone who is a researcher. All of you are together here, together with the leadership of our city mayor, Todd Gloria, a fellow Asian Pacific Islander, our council member, Chris Cate. By the way, we're wishing for a very smooth delivery of his third baby. And of course, our Summer Stefan, the better half of another Asian Pacific Islander American. And also, of course, our Chief David, you have our support all the way through. And all the people who have been here, have been here for such a long time, 2 hours or more. I just want to make sure that all of your names are included in this major narrative and dialogue. And I cannot thank Rancho, Quan Wang, all the people with APAPA San Diego chapter, and all the colleagues here, and I see Sunny's face, Jeff and everybody, everyone here, we work together. I just want to make sure that we have a great start to celebrate May, Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And again, Melissa, I really want you to say something before we end.
Oh, I think I've done enough talking, but I do appreciate you inviting me to be a part of this panel. I think just talking about it is step number one. And then, like I said earlier, ultimately, action. I've talked to my parents recently about the discrimination they faced coming to this country. And it's something that I don't want my children to have to deal with as they grow up. So I think this is a good starter, and hopefully this goes beyond May. Let's continue the conversation. Let's continue the action beyond today. So I'll stop talking because I've done enough talking, but thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Everyone have a wonderful Saturday and weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.